halfway point in this contest between Hyderabad and Bangalore. It's a strange kind of total, which we're going to try and assess over the next few minutes. This is Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partners, My 11th Circle. Now, it's a very similar total to what we had last night, but the way in which the team batting first got there was very different. Let's remind you what Bangalore have got after losing the toss: 149 for 8, getting almost 13 and over in the last 3 overs, which gave them some sort of impetus thanks to that one man, Glenn Maxwell, picking up a half century. Very different season from last season for Glenn Maxwell in the company of Harsha Bhogle and Simon Doull. Harsha, I'll come to you first. Mumbai got to the score that they got. They were expecting to get a lot more. Bangalore looked like they were not going to get this much in the last 3 overs.
And the difference is there's a set batsman batting at the end. We talked about that early on, that these are difficult conditions. I think Rashid Khan said that there's no dew, it's not easy to bat. But a set batsman batting at the end makes such a difference. And I think they got 39 of the last 3. That's the difference. If you didn't have a set batsman there, that could easily have been 20 of the last 3. And there was the game. It's a very peculiar kind of innings progression. And Dooley, I was just doing some numbers. There were big overs and there were nothing overs. It wasn't like a steady 92 of those runs came in just 7 overs. And the other 13 produced 57, so there were nothing overs and big overs.
Yeah, when they struggled big time, didn't they? And when a wicket fell, it was hard to score, hard for the new batsman to come in and just get the pace of the surface. And it's a great point you make about Glenn Maxwell being there at the back end. Now, just looking at the Cricbuzz app and just looking through the games that have been played in the first innings, Mumbai lost 6 wickets, Kolkata lost 5 wickets, Mumbai lost 7 wickets in the last 4 overs. Tonight, Bangalore only lost 3 wickets. So they managed to score those 43 runs in the last 4 overs because they only lost 3 wickets and because they had a set batsman at the crease. We talked also earlier about maybe going a little bit harder up front. It's going to get more and more, I think, relevant as next week and a half goes on in Chennai. You have to make the most of that new ball. They didn't tonight, I don't think. There wasn't enough oomph in that first 6 overs, 7 overs. So they had to find it somewhere. They managed to get there in the back end. And I tell you, I think this is enough.
Interesting call from Simon Doull there, because, Harsha, at the start, we talked about the possibility of a team wanting to set a total here. Well, it just might be a case still that they're playing wait and watch to see what is the kind of good total, because of the fact that Simon mentioned it's a little difficult to set at the moment.
Look, I think it's gettable if they bat well, but this side has so much variety to it, Bangalore. They've got Washington Sundar, he'll give you 4 good overs. They got Chahal, they got Shahbaz, who'll bowl left, and if required, they'll bowl Maxwell a little bit. They'll have Harshal Patel, who'll take pace off, and with the new ball, they've got the bounce of Jamieson, and some pace from Siraj. So they've got variety, and I mean, if there's a side that should defend this, it's them. So I think it'll come down to, say, is a Warner batting in the second half of the innings, for example? Is a Holder there to finish the innings at the end? Or maybe someone like a Bairstow. Bairstow goes and produces a quick 50, does a Maxwell. So I think they've got the batting, but I agree with Dooley. It's going to be, if they win it, my guess is if they win it, they'll win it in the 20th.
Yeah, it's not something we said last season, someone doing a Maxwell. Last season, you did a Tewatia. You didn't do a Maxwell.
But if you did a Maxwell, you were on your way home. You were in the reserves.
Yeah. But the point Harsha made about the smaller overs and the bigger overs, one person's spell alone kind of summed it up, and that was Shahbaz Nadeem. 3 overs for 14, outstanding. His 4th over went big for 22 runs. But the reason it did was one man, Glenn Maxwell. Have a look at this. 4 overs, 1 for 36. If you look at it in isolation, you wouldn't even mention him. You wouldn't single him out. But he was really responsible for that strangle in the first 10 overs was Shahbaz Nadeem. But let's talk about Glenn Maxwell. And, once again, last season, as we just said, he almost didn't exist. Didn't hit a single 6. And from game 1, we've seen how different it's been.
Yeah, and just taking that pressure off him, I think. I mean, look, Glenn Maxwell, I don't feel he's ever been under monetary pressure. He's always gone for big money. I don't think it's been monetary pressure that he's been under. It's more performance pressure and having to be that that guy, having to be the guy that is the franchise player, the marquee player. Well, he's not that at this franchise. I said that in the Cricbuzz Combox with you, Gautam. He's not the marquee player. He's one of, and he's probably the third one down the rank. And so he just feels like there's less of that pressure on him. The money pressure doesn't bother him. I don't think it ever has. And they're just starting to get the best out of him. Now, when those sorts of things happen for Glenn Maxwell, he's just got that ability to turn games, whether it be with the bat, and that's why I like to see him with the brand new ball as well, to David Warner. Just give him an over, because he's that sort of player that will find something for you. He'll take a brilliant catch. He may be able to get Warner out in the first over. He may just do something.
He also strings together scores, Gautam. If he gets on a roll, he'll string together scores in 4-5 games. The other thing that Dooley said, even if there was a pressure of money, now he's got Kohli, big money, AB de Villiers, big money, Jameson, big money. So it's not that he is the one who's sort of getting all the money and having to deliver. So even if that was the case, there's others around him who are bigger names. So they're doing something right at this stage, Bangalore, with him. And let's see if it continues through the season.
One more point on Maxwell. Did you personally see anything different from last season that he's done? Forget everything else that's happening around him.
He'll always play a madcap shot somewhere. You don't know, but I think he's given himself time. Even the best players on surfaces like these will give themselves a time. And I think he went through, his first 9-10 runs, balls, he'd made 3 or 4 runs. So even he gave himself time, because he knows I'm batting at the end, I will get those 12-13 runs at the end. So in a sense, fact there's a 150 game might have worked for him. If it was a 180 game, he might have had to go much earlier. But the fact is a 150 game, I think that suited him well. And I'm completely with Dooley. He goes around the wicket, hits the deck, bowls those off breaks. You might have Washington Sundar and Maxwell opening the bowling for all that you know.
Yeah, Max's work is not done yet, but one person whose work is done, at least with the bat, he'll very much be in the field with his intensity, is the captain of Bangalore, Virat Kohli. Was very, very upset getting out. We haven't seen that kind of reaction in a long time. You could see this. He hadn't got enough balls in that power play. There was something bubbling under Simon when Kohli was batting today.
Yeah, look, it's a tough surface, and you know, when you see Virat Kohli struggling to time the ball, struggling to pick up those easy ones, the nice ones into the gap, the boundaries, you know it's a very difficult surface. And looking through that, I mean, outside of Maxwell and Kohli, and Kyle Jamison's little sort of semi cameo down the bottom of the order, scoring above 100 strike rate was very difficult. So it's not something that I'm going to say, look, he's in a bad patch or anything along those lines. It's just a really tough surface to get going on and to find enough balls. He's got to be facing more and more deliveries in that power play, though. That's the issue. You can't be having too many dots. You can't be having Kohli facing less than the bloke at the other end.
You know, I want to check one thing, and I can't find. It'll take me time on the app. He's played, to take on Dooley's point, he's played 28 balls out of 72. Right? It happened with Rohit Sharma the other day as well.
Yeah.
28 out of 72. Now, I seem to remember once chatting with Tendulkar, and he loved playing with the likes of Azharuddin Jadeja, who quickly gave the strike back to him.
Yeah.
So he hits a single, he gets a strike back quickly. I'm trying to see whether the people batting around Kohli were giving the strike back to him quickly enough if he took a single. So sometimes there are players who want to be the thick of it all. They take a single, they want it back. And I don't know if that happened enough to Kohli. We'll have to look at the strike rotation pattern. But 28 of 72 at that stage, it almost negates having him at the top.
And that's something you said at the start, Harsha. You said it. I hope Kohli doesn't have a Rohit Sharma happening to him, referring to the number of balls. That's exactly what happened.
You said referring to the number of balls.
But, you know, the two people who did bat around him, Shahbaz Ahmed, not played enough with Virat Kohli. Padikkal, yes, played a bit with him, but it's not quite that Kohli-AB partnership that we've come to know, Dooley.
No, it's not. And the reason the Kohli-AB partnership works so well is that AB knows that at the start, when he comes in at 3 of Kohli's opening, his role is to just get one. And AB's as good as anyone in the business at getting one. They're both incredibly quick between the wickets, and therefore it works. And so that's why I wonder about AB batting at 4 and sending in another player at 3. I've got no problem opening with Padikkal and Kohli. find that out. They'll get used to it. They'll get used to batting with each other. But if Padikkal happens to get out before Kohli, then AB can go in. Now, if Kohli gets out and they want to send a Shahbaz Ahmed in to be more aggressive and really try and up the ante in that power play, I don't mind that either, but be flexible around it, because I think if Padikkal gets out, then it's AB's job to go in and get one a ball for the first 10, 11, 12 balls so that Kohli is facing as much of the strike as possible.
Just look at those numbers, Gautam. Sorry to interrupt. They've got Padikkal 11 of 13 balls and Maxwell at one stage 7 of 13 balls. So there was nothing happening at the other end when Kohli was not hitting the boundaries. I think he needs a little more from the other end. There, I made my point.
I don't think it, just to put a point on your point, Harsha, I don't think it was interrupting. It was just rotating the strike.
Yeah, nice.
So we gave you the strike. I'm going to give you the strike one more time to have a look at the bowling. And I'll get both of you quickly into this before the innings resumes. Two players who stood out there, really. We mentioned Shahbaz Nadeem, but Jason Holder coming into the side specifically for that new ball and to bowl at the death. And of course, Rashid Khan 2 for 18. Not quite the 3, Harsha, but he got the 2 and kept the runs down.
What a brilliant bowler, man. 4 overs, 2 for 18. I mean, he I think at one point he had conceded 6 or 7 of his first 3 balls. And even then, he'll come back and deliver 2 for 18 for you. And he got the 2 wickets that he wanted. He comes in, he gets AB out. He gets another out. And he's done his job. Day in, day out, he's done his job. Who is going to do that for Bangalore? Let's see how Chahal bowls on this track. Because Chahal's sort of plateaued a little bit. He's not bowling that well. And luckily for them, there's no dew with all their spin bowling options. So this year, I'm torn. I can see why Dooley is saying this, that the runs are enough. But even if they get it, they'll get it 20th over, I think, even if they do.
So looks like we've got a house divided in terms of the predictions. You're still saying it's enough, Simon Doull?
I'm saying 50-50 actually.
50-50?
No, I'm not on the fence. I mean, Harsha, at some stage you've got to change ends. You've got to rotate the strike. Man. You can't stand in the middle of the pitch and just go, oh, I don't know.
Normally, Dooley comes on Cricbuzz and he's off the front foot. I was just waiting for him to tee off. There he goes. He's been polite for too long.
There you go. That's the phrase, Harsha. It's tee off. It's not the front foot. Remind him about the golf and he's in full flow.
I just thought we got a nice polite Dooley for a change. Okay, all right.
All right, Dooley's got the driver out. Harsha, a nice little 7-iron. Give us the result and tell us the power play score for the chasing side.
For me, the drivers and the irons and the putters all go the same distance. No, I'm going Sunrisers winning in the last over.
And give me a score for the 6th over because we didn't get our scores right again.
Sixth over, Saha teeing off. I'm going 45.
6th over, 47. Little less for me. I'm going to go 40 for the Sunrisers. They'll play a wait and watch game. Dooley?
Struggle, 32.
32. Well, you've got to put your money where your mouth is. If you've said that it's enough runs, that's where it's got to head. So that's going to be a good, interesting progression to have a look out for. Thank you, gentlemen. We will, of course, be back for all of you in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox and then see you at the end. This has, again, been a wonderful discussion on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partners, My 11 Circle.